Hello and welcome to Gladys Cake Kitchen. In this video, I am going to be showing you how to make this sea life underwater ocean themed cake. The cake is completed as a semi-naked ganache cake with the sea life elements made from fondant and some edible images. Edible images come in handy for all sorts of celebration cakes and can be used in various ways, especially if you're a beginner who isn't confident about your fondant modeling skills. I have used edible prints on icing sheets for a few different cakes, but in this video I'll be using the edible images to represent some fish characters. If you watch till the end, I'll be showing you how I made the octopus and the popular Nemo using edible prints. And without having to waste your time, let's get right into this video. I am starting with a 5-inch Oreo cake that's been leveled and sliced into 4 equal layers. The cake will be filled and stacked before trimming. On a cake card, I apply some ganache and begin to layer the cake, filling each layer with a generous amount of buttercream. The recipes for the cake and buttercream are linked in the description box for you to check out, and I also have a detailed video on 3 ways to fill your cake, which is part of a decorating series where I show you simple ways to get your cake right. The playlist is also linked in the description box for your convenience, so please do check that out too. Whilst filling and layering the cake, I ensure the cake is straight standing and any excess buttercream scraped off before the cake is left to set. After leaving the cake to set, I return to trim the cake ready for crumb coating. Trimming helps to rid any crust, leaving a clean cake when sliced into, but this may not be necessary for all cakes. In a very detailed video on how to crumb coat your cake 2 ways, I talk you through the various reasons for trimming and not trimming your cake. This video is part of the playlist recommended for you. Trimming done, it's time to crumb coat the cake to seal the crumbs in and to leave a crumb-free surface to work with. I start by spreading the ganache on top of the cake and around the cake, after which I take off any excess using a scraper. A good tip for scraping ganache is to use a warm metal scraper, as ganache sets hard very quickly. After crumb coating, the cake is left to set and I return to clean the top with a warm, sharp knife. If you've watched a few of my videos, you'll find this is a good tip I recommend for getting sharp edges on a cake. Cake top cleaned, another layer of ganache is added, aiming for a plain, clean finish. After spreading the ganache around, I remove any excess ganache, and next is to add some colored ganache. The plain ganache is followed by blue colored ganache, which is spread around the cake and any excess removed. I cover all my cakes in plain ganache before finishing the final layer of in color if necessary. This stops having to use more food coloring, as I only color a small portion of ganache for the final layer. If any colored ganache is left over, it will be used to crumb coat another cake, which will then be followed by a thinner layer of plain ganache. There are some examples of cakes on this channel showing you how I do this, so please do check that out. While covering the cake in blue, a drop of blue color gel is applied to the back of the offset spatula and dragged around, spreading the color along. This is to create another layer of blue to add depth to the blue theme. I am using the Pro Gel Sky Blue color, and details of items used in this video with extra information is detailed in the description box. The cake has been left to set and the top is cleaned to reveal a sharp edge. Now another layer of blue is to be added, only this time the color is to add texture. A drop of blue color gel is spread on a clean paper towel and dabbed around the cake, creating a messy textured look. The paper with the color is then dragged around to mix the color up before finishing off with a scraper. The textured colored look is revealed and the cake is left to sit while the edible images and decorative elements are made. I recommend these are made in advance to save you time. To make the edible printed decorations, I carefully cut out each image cleanly from the icing sheet and set this on a piece of rolled out fondant mixed with Tylose powder. With a fondant smoother and rolling pin, the image is impressed into the fondant before it is cut out. To get a clean cut image without the fondant dragging, leave the fondant impressed image for up to 20 minutes. The Tylose in the fondant will begin to set, leaving the fondant firm. The image can then be cut out cleanly using a sharp blade. I did this with the Nemo and octopus characters and completed other fondant elements such as seashells using a mold, but sadly I lost that footage. The fondant elements and edible prints will be left to dry in a fan-assisted oven at 50 degrees for up to 15 to 20 minutes. Decorative elements done, the cake is transferred onto a fondant-covered board to begin decorating. Around the cake, I spread some crushed biscuits used as sand and begin to attach some sea leaves using some piping gel, which is first applied to the surface of the cake. However, I struggled to get the seaweed to stick properly, so I resorted to using Ganache on other parts later. The underwater elements were added and I included the seashells, which were made using a £3.50 mold picked up from my local hobbycraft. Then I added small ball fondant and pressed these into the surface with the tail of a fondant tool. Nemo and the octopus were added and a fondant number 5 set as a topper. It's really amazing how basic skills and simple techniques can add up to such a pretty well presented cake. Now here stands the sea life underwater themed cake, complete with fondant and edible images. Click on the video showing here for a detailed guide on how to make a topper using edible image, but the playlist next will show you some cakes I made using simple techniques and some edible images too. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.